How we doing this awesome weekend? We're live now. How's YouTube doing? What's going on Instagram? What's up Facebook? I wonder if anybody from Facebook ever gets on. Maybe the integration is broken. But how we doing Instagram? Where y'all at? What's going on YouTube? There we go. Welcome Adalatif 2005 KRL MV. What's going on, everybody? Sultan Emir 93. Good to have you here. Go Mesituan. Oh man, that's a crazy name. But hello. What's up, Bic Bic 9000? Remote HR. Great to have everybody here. Laborat. Is that what it is? Elborat. You mean Meta, as Facebook now calls themselves. Oh, Meta. What's going on? Rap Rasad Moat. What's going on, everybody? For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jason, full stack developer here at DevSlopes. I work on a lot of cool things and build a lot of cool projects. And I'm also the DevSlopes Web Academy instructor and mentor. So I work with students all day, helping them learn how to code. And then I help them take those skills and reap the benefits. I help them land freelance work and get jobs. That's very important, especially when we put so much, hard work into learning a skill like programming. Like, it's one thing to know it, it's another thing to, get paid for it. And so that's what we do here at DevSlopes. We make sure that you get paid because that's super important. I think that's a really good measurement of success, right? Because after you learn how to code, how do you know you're successful with it if you're not, offering those skills and everything and making money, reaping the benefits? So all good stuff. So if you're interested in the DevSlopes Academy, you want some accountability or guidance and direction, go to devslopes.com/apply and then set up a call with one of our career coaches, see if the academy is for you. And I'd be stoked to work with you. That'd be cool. That'd be awesome. All right. So if anybody has questions about, what technology stacks you should be learning as a beginner, or if you're already learning and maybe you've hit a roadblock or you're wondering, if what you're learning is actually, useful, go ahead and leave some comments below and I'll get to those questions. I want to know about the Spring framework. Ramprasad, is that how you pronounce it? Ramprasad. I don't know anything about Spring. I've never used it. So that's something that you could probably YouTube or Google. I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to everything, but I will surely do my best. But that's a good question. Thanks for kickstarting things for us. I appreciate it. All right, let's see what we have going on here in Instagram. Let me see if we got any questions. A bunch of people are joining. All right, we've got one here. I'm feeling stuck when learning JavaScript. Any advice? So it's very common to feel stuck when you're learning JavaScript. You have to be mindful. It's going to take anywhere, I would say, between 3 to 9 months to become proficient with JavaScript. All right, JavaScript is just one of those things. It's a very interesting programming language. I mean, all of them, all programming languages kind of fall under this umbrella. You are learning to think in a brand new way for problem solving. You are learning a brand new language that you're not familiar with, and you're learning a brand new syntax. All right, there's a lot of newness that's happening when you're learning. So it is common to feel stuck with JavaScript. Do keep in mind that this is a journey. All right, learning to code is not some quick fix. It's not a fast process. It just takes time and patience. It's a journey. All right. Some of the things that you can do to get better with JavaScript is, once you've learned the foundational concepts of JavaScript, like the different tools that are available, I would encourage you to start doing coding challenges or coding exercises and start building projects, because that's going to help train your brain for problem solving. And then it's also going to help you learn how to use JavaScript more in real world situations. All right. So if you're stuck, just be patient and try out some coding challenges. If you want some really cool, fun coding challenges, go to 30daycodingchallenge.com. All right. DevSlopes puts on these 30-day code challenges, and it's for JavaScript and for Swift. And on top of that, not only do you get access to the challenge, but you get a mentor and a coach. And so for those 30 days, you'll have some one-on-one mentoring and coaching from one of the instructors here at DevSlopes. And then you'll also be able to join on these weekly live meetup calls during the challenge. So you'll be able to meet up with all the other students that are taking these 30-day code challenges, as talk, code, freelance jobs, whatever. And so that's kind of cool. You get all that for a simple, 30-day code challenge. So the next one starts on the 1st, so just in a couple of days. So go to 30daycodechallenge.com and then just get signed up so you can start on the 1st. All right. Cheap Maze, what do you think about Quasar framework? I've never heard of the Quasar framework. I've heard of, the quasars in space, those giant explosions that happens. Was it with a star or a black hole? It's when something implodes, but it's called a quasar. And it's something that happens in space, but I don't know what the Quasar framework is. So what I think about it is nothing because I don't know anything about it. Let's see what we have going here in YouTube. All right, so Sass versus styled components. I think that's, I don't know if you're asking like what's the difference between the two, or if you're asking which one's better. I personally have always used Sass, like always. And styled components, I've looked into it. It's super popular. Styled components is way popular, and I've looked into it, but it's just like it's not my flavor, but it's cool and everything. I've just always preferred Sass, and also in companies, like if you're looking to do like freelance work or land a job, Sass is very widely adopted in the industry. And so if you're getting hooked up at a company or anything, Sass is a little bit more relevant to learn. You'll see styled components in a lot of personal projects or freelance stuff, but you won't find styled components in, at an actual job. That's a good question. How to improve the SEO of a website. So there's a couple of things, and these things with web development, they help with SEO, all right, but they're just small little steps. I mean, nowadays, the real thing is just marketing to get your website up there. So, but some things you can use is make sure that each page only has one header one tag, like an H1 tag, just one. Try to leverage and utilize semantic element selectors or semantic elements, like using the article or the section or the nav elements. Make things, what is it called? I think it's W3C. W3C. I'm not thinking of W3 Schools. Yeah. World Wide Web Consortium. Okay, this is W3C guidelines. So making things accessible to everybody, like people with disabilities and things. That's going to help with SEO. One thing to also consider if you're building a single page application with Angular or React, that's going to destroy your SEO 100%. People are not going to really be able to find your website unless you're specifically paying for ads. All right. And the reason being is because Angular and React, for an example, they serve the entire website from an index file, all right, that just has an ID of like root or app. And then all your components are rendered through that at runtime when somebody actually visits the page. And so all those, pages that you have built with the header one tags and this and keywords and whatnot, those aren't even built yet. So when Google, is is looking for your website to index all the different pages on there, it has nothing to hook into, because the only thing that's being served from your host provider is that index file, which has an ID of root. There's nothing else. All right. So that's why there's static site generators like Next.js. So DevSlopes website, I originally built it using React. All right. But it bombed SEO. And so what I had to do is I use Next.js, which is a framework. It's a static site generator. I can still build everything in React. But when it compiles, all my components, all my pages, everything is compiled into static HTML. So Google has something to hook into and to index. So that's one thing. Meta tags in the header, I've read that those are like garbage now. Like it's completely irrelevant these days. I'm not sure. A big one. This is the last thing I'm going to touch on with the SEO stuff. Two things is your website needs to be mobile responsive. It just has to. It has to be mobile friendly. That's one of the scoring points that Google will look for in your website. Is it mobile responsive? The second thing is loading speeds. The one thing that affects loading speeds more than anything is image sizes. All right. People just put images in there, and it might be like a 1920 by 1080, whatever, like a massive, 4K image. And then you resize it to like 300 by 200 pixels with CSS, but the browser still needs to load like this massive 4K image. And so what you need to do is you need to resize all your images to the proper size that it should be. All right. And then you need to compress the images. So that's one thing. And then also if you have JavaScript, a lot of iframes is going to kill SEO because it's going to kill load times. Anyways, that's that. Jay Woods says CSS is the devil. I agree. It's also part of that paranormal activity because it has such weird, strange behaviors at times. I hate CSS. I'm good at it, but I hate it. Let's see. Simon does stuff. I'm glad you do stuff, Simon. I'm a self-taught developer in high school. I've taken all the computer science courses. I have numerous projects across 15 languages. I try to study professional standards. At what point can I call myself a developer? You can call yourself, well, it sounds like you are a developer. I mean, if you can build projects, all right, if you have a project idea and you build it without using a tutorial and you problem solve and you Google and you find answers to create something, I would say you're a developer. All right. If you're still just following tutorial after tutorial after tutorial, you haven't learned the key skill in becoming a programmer, which is programmatic solving, like programmatically solving problems, like, learning how to Google correctly to find answers. So once you can do that, then I would say, yeah, you're a programmer. And another good thing to kind of, gauge your skills and everything is ask yourself the question, like, can you build a CRUD application? Not a crappy application, a CRUD, okay? Create, read, update, delete. Can you build an application that's full stack, all right, that talks to an API? And if you can do something like that, I would start freelancing. You should start freelancing and building projects and making money. Heck, you should even, look for jobs at a startup company. You should just start applying. Can I run Python on Node.js server? No, you can't. Node is a JavaScript runtime environment. So Node is a framework that allows you to write JavaScript on the server, not Python. But you can use Python for server-side code. To my knowledge, I don't think you can run Python on Node because it's JavaScript. But that's a good question. I'm like 98% sure. I kind of feel like this could be a curveball question. Throw me off my game here, but I don't know. All right, Instagram. What kind of questions do we have here? Which language is best to learn first for app development? So this is Real Bad Boy. All right, real bad boy. What language is best to learn first for app development? Well, it kind of depends a little bit. Do you want, I'm going to assume that this is native app development. All right. If you have an iPhone, then you should learn Swift and build iPhone apps. If you have an Android phone, you should learn Kotlin and build Kotlin apps or Android apps. Shrey21, what after HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React for software engineer job? So that right there is enough. It is plenty to get a front end developer position. All right. So if you've learned all those things and you can build projects without following a tutorial using those, for technologies, then you should start applying for jobs or doing freelance. Okay. The next step after that is to go full stack. And what I would do is I would learn Node. All right. Because Node lets you write all your server side code in JavaScript. So you don't have to go and learn anything new. And then learn Mongo, use Mongo for the back end. And then you can use Express as your middleware. So, and that's considered the MERN stack: Mongo, Express, React, and Node. So that's what I would do. All right. What do you look at when employing full stack dev? What do you look at? Oh, when applying full stack dev. So, I mean, client side to backend. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. What do you look at when applying full stack dev? You should know front end technologies and back end technologies and use them together. Is Python a good programming language? It is. It's awesome. Now, there's something that I also want to add to that. All right. So Python is a good programming language. It's a fantastic language for beginners to pick up. It has really nice, clean syntax. It has a really broad general purpose. Like if you want to, you can use it as a scripting language. You can use it in web development. You can use it to build artificial intelligence like AI or machine learning. You can use it for games. So it's a good programming language, okay? But what you should do is ask yourself, what is it you want to do with programming? Like, do you want to work on cars, embedded apps? What do you want to do with programming? I got a notification that it says it was paused. So hopefully it's not paused anymore. So anyways, ask yourself what it is you want to do with programming, and then you should learn those programming languages. Python is great. Everybody says, oh, it's super popular. It's the best language ever. Learn it. But guess what? If what you can do with Python isn't what you want to do with programming, then don't learn it. All right. As a beginner, I like web dev and also app dev, but I don't know which one to go for. So Henzano, I was kind of in the same boat. All right. I'm a self-taught developer. When I first had this idea, like I want to be a programmer, I wanted to do iPhone apps. I was like, I'm going to be an iPhone developer. Like, this is going to be cool. So, but my first take at programming was actually web development. And I liked it. I was like, wow, web development is cool. And so once I learned all the basics and essentials of web development and I was pretty proficient in it, I was like, okay, I want to do app development. So then I switched and I started doing Swift for, iOS apps. And it was cool. I liked it, but I liked web development more. All right. So just, kind of pick the one that you're a little bit more passionate about. Now, if you're basing it on a salary, if they're both kind of the same for you, iOS developers make more. Okay. Web developers, they tend to make the least, but I mean, it's still good money after 3 years. It's very common to see salaries over 100,000. All right. For a quick example, I'm a full stack developer. All right. My brother, full stack web developer, my brother is an iOS developer. Okay. He only works on the front end, no back end. Okay. And he makes about 20,000 more a year than me. And he's been coding for a year less than me. But that's because he's an iOS developer. They just have a bigger salary is all. But I prefer web and I have an awesome salary. So it's all good. It's all good. I'm very happy with what I do. I cannot complain. All right, we've got 8 more minutes here. I'll take a couple questions here from YouTube. What is the best way to learn programming? RedX, that is a great question. So I'll tell you right, you can go down the self-taught road. All right. The first thing you need to do is decide what is it you want to do with programming. Then you need to learn those programming languages for that. So for an example, if you want to do iPhone apps, you're going to learn Swift. If you want to do Android apps, you're going to learn Kotlin. If you want to do web development, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React. All right. So pick a path that you want to do. And then when you're learning on your own, like I did it on my own, and it sucks. It's difficult because you don't really have a support group or a community that you can go to and just ask other developers questions. And YouTube and Udemy and all these other places are full of so much content. It's like, how do you know if what you're learning is useful? And how do you know when you know enough? Like there's just a lot of questions that come up. So you can go that route, start with some YouTube courses, maybe Udemy, or there's DevSlopes. If you want one-on-one mentorship, if you want to work with somebody like me to help you learn how to code, someone to review your code, if you want weekly live meetups where you can talk to me, ask me anything you want. We'll talk code, freelance jobs, tech, whatever. And if you want me to work with you until you get paid, until you land freelance work or get a job, all right, if you're totally serious about this, then go to devslopes.com/apply. And we've got the DevSlopes Academy for iOS, Android, and Swift, or iOS, Android, and web. All right. So, but yeah, you'll get the whole deal. It's a paid program, but our students, they're landing jobs and they're making money because that's what we as coaches do. We work with our students until they make money. We don't just teach you something and leave you out on your own. Okay. We want you to make money. Is there any way to improve cross-platform app performance just like native apps? That's a good question. I haven't looked into that. That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I don't work with a lot of cross-platform technologies like Flutter or React Native. I've dabbled in them and I've built some like sample apps, but like what I do for the DevSlopes website for the front end, like the actual website you see, and for the API and like for the back end and all the optimizations, like I know how to improve performance for things like that, but not cross-platform specifically. What's the best way to learn a language? Okay, this one I'm gonna also kind of tie that into what RedX asked, what is the best way to learn programming? So everything I said before, also the other thing that you have to do, 2 hours a day, at least 5 days a week. To learn how to become a programmer, to learn how to code, you have to be consistent with it. You have to have your hands on a keyboard every day, at least 5 days a week, slamming out code. All right. It's just one of these things that you have to be insanely repetitive with. You've got to drill it into your brain. It needs a lot of practice. All right. So that's what you need to do. Elizabeth says your video is lagging. I believe you, Elizabeth. I live out here in the country, so I have a super weird internet provider, and it's super windy outside because I live near the ocean, and there's like 50-mile-an-hour gusts going on outside. It's blown over my basketball hoop, my porch swing, and my poor motorcycle is out there. I'm afraid it's going to get hit by a tree or a branch. Cross my fingers that it's doesn't get hit. So, okay, Elizabeth also asks, what do you think about AWS? I think AWS is great. I've used it only a little bit, all right, only a little bit, but I think it's great. And it also depends, you have to think about the needs, what you're trying to do or what you're coding, how it needs to scale. And AWS in a lot of cases is a good choice, but in other cases it might not be. Rajath asks how to get better with data structures and development simultaneously. Well, I don't think you can do anything simultaneously. You can work on one thing and then work on another thing and do multiple things, but I don't know about simultaneously. So data structures, I don't know, Google like different types of exercises or quizzes about data structures. Also like just building projects in general will help you learn how to use data structures more effectively. And then yeah, just build projects and you learn development too. Maybe that kind of is simultaneously, right? Because you're using data structures while coding. So, okay, I guess you got me there. It's kind of a simultaneous process. It's popular for a lot of job requirements. Yeah, AWS is. It's popular for a lot of job requirements. There's a lot of companies that are using it. When you said a developer is a person who don't use tutorials to finish a project, you mean like full stack developer, front end and back end, right? No, just front end, really. But basically, if you can build something that does something meaningful, I would say you're a programmer. If you know HTML and CSS, you're not a programmer, okay? That's the reality. HTML and CSS isn't a programming language. Like it's a markup and styling language, okay? It's not programming. You're not coding it to do logic or anything, okay? JavaScript is the logic. It's the brains of something, all right? So if you can code something that can do something meaningful, all right? It doesn't have to be full stack. I would consider yourself a programmer. All right. Yeah, that's what I would say. All right, let's see what other questions we have here on Instagram. We're going to wrap up here in just like a minute, so I'll take a couple of questions. Let's see. Probably have time for one or two more. Mario, age issues for someone who's 42. There is no age issues learning to code. There is such a high demand for programmers. Like, it doesn't matter. Companies just want somebody who can code and who can pump out results. All right. So like in the DevSlopes Academy, for an example, our oldest student is this gentleman. He's 55 years old. Okay. He joined the iOS Academy. I think it was like a year ago or something. And he's landed a job already as an iOS developer. He's 55. Okay. And then our youngest student, I think, is 15. So don't worry about age. I made a mid-career, a midlife career change. All right. I was in my late 20s when I decided, you know what, I want to be a programmer. I knew nothing about coding, but I made the decision, made a career change. It was very rough, very difficult. I did the self-taught route, but here I am, 6 years later, and life is good. So yeah, don't worry about your age. If you want to learn how to code, you should just do it, because I promise you it'll change your life. It really will. All right, everybody, that's a wrap. That looks like it's all the questions. So everybody, have a fantastic weekend. I encourage you to go code something. All right, either learn how to code or go build a project or something. All right, I'm gonna get back to working on this freaking API stuff that I'm doing for DevSlopes. It's throwing me for a loop, but it's working. But anyways, if you want some guidance, some direction, you're learning how to code, you want to work with somebody like me, who will review your code, do weekly live meetups with you, and just help you along the way to get paid and everything, go to devslopes.com/apply and check out our DevSlopes Academy for iOS, Android, and web. And if you want to push your programming skills to the next level, check out the DevSlopes 30-Day Code Challenge. Go to 30daycodechallenge.com. The next challenge starts in a couple of days. It starts on November 1st. So go get enrolled. Until next time, have a great weekend. Stay positive. Stay. Adios.